Are you in the mood for pancakes, but also in the mood for some nice fall flavors? I have the answer for you here with my apple cinnamon pancakes. And I will also be telling you how you can turn them into pumpkin pancakes if that's your preference. These are only 1 bite a piece, 3 bites for all 3 of these. And it's coming up next. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Today we are going to be doing pancakes, 2 fall versions. I'm going to be doing one, but I'm going to be mentioning how to do the other. That are based on my friend Cammie's blueberry Greek yogurt pancakes that you may have seen on this channel before. So I've taken her recipe and played around with it, made a few other combinations. These 2 are going to be fall. I also have 2 that are going to be up in a few months for Christmas. I have an eggnog and a gingerbread. Those are already on the blog if you have any interest in seeing them already, but I will be doing videos for those later in the year as we get closer to Christmas. But since we are in fall, what I'm doing today is apple cinnamon pancakes, but I'm also going to tell you how to change a few things for pumpkin pancakes. And both of these recipes are on my blog, and that is linked down below. So first of all, we're going to go over the ingredients. I have, as you would hope I'd have in an apple cinnamon pancake, an apple. I am going to cut that into a small dice, and we're going to season that with a little cinnamon and sugar replacement. So in here I have a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of the sugar replacement. I use Swerve. If you know this channel, you already know that. But you can use whatever you want. This is a 1-to-1 replacement for sugar. So if what you use is stronger, you'll have to adjust how much you use. Now in the recipe, the cinnamon will say 3/4 teaspoon divided. That's because 1/4 teaspoon is going with the apple. The other 1/2 teaspoon, which is over here, is going to be going into the pancake itself. The same thing with the sweetener. There's a 1/4 teaspoon here, and then there is a tablespoon here. This tablespoon is going into the pancake. In this little bowl here, I have a 1/2 cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder, baking soda, and a pinch of salt. We're going to be mixing that together with the cinnamon and the sweetener in just a moment. We also have a 1/4 cup of non-fat Greek yogurt and a 1/4 cup of applesauce. And here I have just a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla and an egg. Almost forgot the egg. And last thing, I have about 1/3 cup of water here. You'll need between like a 1/4 cup and a 1/3 cup of water, because when you first mix all of this together, it'll be very thick. So this will help it to thin down into a consistency that's better for pancakes. But I'll show you that consistency when we get there. Now, if you wanted to make these the pumpkin version, you would obviously get rid of the apple and this 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and sweetener, although you could still use them and put them into a pumpkin pancake, make a pumpkin apple. That would be interesting too. But if you're just doing the pumpkin, you would eliminate those items. You would turn this 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon into a 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. And the 1/4 cup of applesauce would be a 1/4 cup of pumpkin. Those 2 are really the only changes, is the spice and going from applesauce to pumpkin, eliminating those things. But if you're interested in the pumpkin version, that is on my blog as well, as this apple cinnamon version. So let me move a few things out of my way, and then we will get ready prepping the apples, which is the first thing. Oh, speaking of the apple, I do have a little bit of lime juice just because once I've diced it, I don't want it turning brown quickly, so I'm just gonna put a little acid on there. You could use lemon juice. I have a big bottle of lemon juice. I didn't want to bring out the big bottle, so I figured just a little lemon juice. Anything that's acidic will keep it from turning brown. So let me move a few things as I said, and we will move on. Okay, so I'm just peeling the apple first. You don't have to. I had someone ask on one of my other apple recipes, I believe it was the apple crumble cake maybe, if you had to peel the apple, and no, you don't. You could leave that on there if you don't mind the texture, because the apple peel won't really cook down the same way as the apple, but you can keep that on there if you don't mind that texture. Paul is not a fan of the peels, but you don't have to. And I'm just using a little knife here, and what I'm just going to do, let me move this. I'm just going to basically, I don't know if you've seen me cutting up peppers, but where you cut off the cheeks. And I am going to be putting up a video, I believe next Monday, showing you how I prep peppers. But this is basically going to be the same thing. You're going to cut off the outside, like the cheeks, as they call it, and go from there. Now, because I want these in a kind of a small dice, I'm going to cut this in half and then cut across into the size that I want. And you notice, well, actually, I'll show it to you again, but when I pull the knife through, I move my finger to hold onto the apple so it doesn't go all over the place. But you're just gonna make small little dices like this. You just want little bits, and try not to throw them all over as I tend to do. Okay, now I'm gonna put them into this bowl. Now that's one bad thing about using a small knife is you don't get that big surface of a larger knife to transfer those over. Just gonna splash them a little bit with the lime juice, and now I won't need this anymore because there's enough in there for all of the apple to come. Stir that around a little bit. All right, so again, just gonna cut this down the middle and then cut across. And as I put the knife through, if I pull it, you see how this top one comes off because it's the moisture in the apple is sticking it to the knife. So instead of just pulling it through, I'll put my finger down where I want to cut, press down, move my finger over to hold that in place and pull it out. So down, hold, pull. It's a little more difficult to do it going across once you've gotten into the small dice because there are lots of little bits. So you don't have to worry about it going this direction, but you do want to hold the top and the bottom of them. So when you pull through, you're not pulling all of the apple slices off. So that's the only place you want to hold now. And then you put your finger down where you're going to be cutting. And there's your tiny dice. All right, so I'm going to finish this apple up and then I'll be right back to show you where we go from there. All right, so I have the apple all diced up here. Just stirring it around a bit in the lime juice. Then I'm going to take my little whisk and combine the cinnamon and sweetener and then just sprinkle that over the top. Now I'm just going to toss it. should have brought a spoon over, but this will work. You just want all of the apple to have a little hint of the cinnamon on it mixed in there. And I can definitely smell it being infused with the apple scent. Okay, so you're just gonna see they're just lightly brown from the cinnamon. You don't want a crazy coating on them. You just want a hint on all of the apple. So those are pretty well done. Let me move this stuff out and we'll start out in the pancake. Okay, now for the pancake, we're going to take the flour, the baking soda, and the salt, put those into a bowl along with the other dry ingredients, the cinnamon and the sweetener. And then just whisk these things together. The main reason you want to whisk the dry ingredients together first is, especially with the cinnamon and the baking soda, you want to make sure it's evenly distributed throughout. You don't want pockets of baking soda or pockets of cinnamon. And if you put the wet ingredients in, you may get clumps from the moisture, and you don't want that. So that's why it's always best to whisk your dry ingredients together just like that. And then we're gonna put in the Greek yogurt. Now this is at room temperature so that it will incorporate everything here is at room temperature, the egg, the Greek yogurt, the applesauce, because as I've mentioned in other videos, if things are at room temperature, if they're all about the same temperature, they blend together more easily. And especially with something like a pancake, you don't want to spend too much time trying to blend things together because that will make the pancake tough. Applesauce in, vanilla in. Now you could up the vanilla a little bit if you wanted. I only use a 1/4 cup because this is an apple cinnamon pancake. You don't really need a lot of extra flavor from the vanilla. You just want a hint. And voila. So we're gonna break up the egg first and whisk this together just a bit. Now a lot of times I will switch once I've gotten the egg whisked in a bit to my spatula, because this batter will get very thick and then start sticking inside of the whisk. And you also don't want to overwork the flour, like I said. You don't want to build up that gluten, which is what would make it tough, kind of like a bread. It would be the difference between eating like a muffin and a roll, that kind of texture difference. So you really, whenever you make pancakes, you really just want to mix everything together only until it comes together. And that looks pretty good right there. There may be pockets of flour that you'll see, and that's not a big deal. Because as it sits, we're gonna let it sit for a few minutes. And as it sits, that flour will absorb some of that. Now let me switch back to my whisk so I can whisk in the water and get this to the consistency we want. Because right now, you can see very thick. You don't want it that thick, but we don't want to add any bites or points. And we'll start with about a 1/4 cup. I usually start with maybe about half of this that I have in here, just to see where I get. And you want to be careful because the water is going to want to slosh out. It's not going to want to incorporate right away. So you kind of have to be gentle and just nudge it in there. Okay, that's looking better. I think just a smidge more. Let me add like another tablespoon maybe. And that's good. If you want it kind of dripping off of there, but you don't want a steady stream, that would be too much liquid. But that looks like a good consistency to me. So we're going to let this sit for maybe like 5 minutes and let all of that absorb together. Meanwhile, I'm gonna get my griddle and get a few other things ready to fry these up. Okay, so I nearly forgot to mention the other ingredients I have over here. I have some applesauce with a little bit of cinnamon. I have my sweetener. This is the sausage I'm going to serve with the pancakes. And if anyone can tell me why sausages come in odd numbers, please let me know. This is a pack of 7. I mean, why? Why not an even number? If there's 2 people, if there's 3 people, 7's not going to do it either. Why 7? And I have some of my sort of sweetener over here because I have very little maple syrup here left for Paul. This is the syrup Paul uses. He doesn't like to use my sugar-free syrup. So, since there's so little left, I figured I would make him an apple cinnamon syrup. So I figured I would show you how I'm doing that. I'm just putting some unsweetened applesauce. I have about a half a cup with about a teaspoon or so. I didn't really measure it. I usually, for things like this, I don't often measure, but it's about a teaspoon. And I'm going to just heat that in here with the rest of his syrup. Now, you could do the same thing if you really wanted to enhance the apple cinnamon of the pancakes. You could do the same exact thing with the same ingredients and then just a little bit of your sugar-free syrup. So you could make this kind of, it's not going to be a syrup, it's going to be more like a puree kind of thing. But I'm going to add a little bit of the sweetener to it to give it a little sweetness more than just that little bit of maple did. Add in a little sweetener. So you don't want this to become a thick paste. Like when we made the apple cinnamon cream cheese, you wanted a thick paste. You don't want that here. So you just want to drive off a little bit of the moisture. Not a lot. So you can see it's getting a little thicker. I'm probably not going to let it go too much longer than this. Okay, so I think that's good. Thick, kind of like a syrup, not too runny, but also not too pasty. So turn that off, and I'm going to put a lid on it. Okay, so now I really am getting the griddle, and I'll be right back. Okay, so my griddle is heated up. I have it on 350 if you're using an electric griddle. If you're going off of a pan, I would use probably like a medium to medium high. I tend to go towards the medium high based on my stove, but if yours works better at medium, then go that route. Now I have some butter spray here. Just gonna coat that liberally. Now I have the apples separated and I'm going to sprinkle them on top. You don't have to do that. You could add them in here as part of the pancake, but I like having that extra texture, and I also like to make sure there's not too much apple, because that was a medium apple, but when I can coat it on the top, spread them out on the top of it, it's easier to see if it's too much or not. So I'm usually starting with about a tablespoon on each one, and then I'll see how it is from there. I also have my sausage heating up over here. I need to turn that down a little bit because these are fully cooked chicken sausages. I just need to heat them through and get some browning on them. I also have a sheet pan over here with a cooling rack in it, and that's because I'm recording. I need to do my intro. I need to take some pictures for the thumbnail. So I don't want them to all get cold, so I'm going to put half of them in the oven at like 180. I put it on the lowest setting, put it in there, and then turn it off so that the oven stays warm, but it's not cooking them. You want about a half a cup or so of the batter for each pancake. This should make 6. I'm going to start a little skimpy, just in case. I sometimes overestimate how much is in here and then have to go back and fix things. So I'm going to underestimate this time, and it looks like I did well because I still have some that I can spread around here. So this will make 6 pancakes. For the apple, cinnamon here, and the pumpkin, they are going to be 1 bite each, and that's going to be a true 1 bite. Sometimes if you have 3, which this for me and Paul usually is sufficient to have 3 each, it will still weigh 3 bites or 3 blue points. Sometimes you'll get where you get 3 and then it's 4 bites because of the weird WW I track bites math. All right, so I'm going to take about a teaspoon of the apple, sprinkle that over, and did I say teaspoon? I meant tablespoon. I know I said tablespoon. I think I said tablespoon earlier. Anyway, this is a tablespoon, and that looks like it's definitely more than sufficient to cover one of the pancakes. Like I said, this is optional. You could just add it in if you wanted to add it in, but we're afraid that there would be too much apple because I do have, and I'll show you in a second, I do have quite a bit left. So say I still have quite a bit of apple left. If I had put it right into the batter, this would have been maybe more like an apple fritter almost, and that's not what I'm going for. If you wanted to add the apple into the batter, what I would do is measure 6 tablespoons, 1 tablespoon for each pancake, and then put that into the batter and save the rest. The rest I'm actually going to put in with the apple syrup here. That way you'll get some nice little chunks of apple on top as well as in the pancake. So the first side, you want to cook these for about 3 minutes. You'll start to see bubbles coming up in the pancake, and then you want to watch for the edges around here to start getting dry. Then when you flip them, it's just going to be another 2 minutes or so. So let me take a peek. Of course I can't see. All right, I'm going to go for it. Perfect. And if any of the apples plop out, you can just push them back in. Now this side is only going to go for about 2 minutes, and then we will be done. Okay, so you can see I'm just flipping them. You don't have to flip these another time. I'm just flipping. Show you the coloring of the bottom so you know they are done when they have some nice browning on them. So there you have it, my apple cinnamon pancakes. These are 1 bite a piece, and they're 1 true bite. So these 3 are just 3 bites or 3 blue points. Now I'm on the iTrack Bites Better Balance plan, which is equivalent to the WW Blue plan. I'm not sure what these would be on the other plans, but that's what they are for this. Now for calories, each one of these is 79 calories. If you made the pumpkin version, those would be 61 calories each. And for the macros on this, the fat would be 1.2 grams, the carbs would be 17 grams, and the protein would be 3.2 grams. So in macros, these would be the same on the pumpkin version, except the carbs would go down to 11.3 grams. So I hope that you will give this a try, and I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and are looking for some weight loss recipes like this one. I have a lot of fall flavors that are coming up for the next couple of months. And share this video if you know someone who is on a weight loss journey who might find this of interest. And hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video. And you can also follow me over on social media. I'll leave my Instagram handle here, as well as the 2 Facebook groups that I am a part of. One I am the sole admin on, and that's Recipes with Roy. And the other one I am the co-admin with Jennifer Lynn from the Jennifer Lynn channel, as well as Bree Coleman from Balancing Life with Bree. We are the co-admins on Finding Our Way, W-E-I-G-H, and I will show you that icon here as well so that you know you found the right place if you're looking for us. There's a lot of great tips, tricks, and support over there. So that wraps up this video. I'm going to go have some breakfast, and I hope you will soon be doing the same. So until next time, bye.